Yo, what's going on everyone? Guiding Light here, and in this video, I'm going to walk you guys through the Tiger Vanguard boss fight. Now, this was one of the more difficult boss fights in the game, so I figured I'd walk you guys through, give you a step-by-step tutorial on how to take this boss down. Now, before starting the fight, I do suggest putting on a specific build. Keep in mind, you can change your build whenever you like, and so if you know you're not going to need certain abilities, it's actually better to go ahead and turn those abilities off and use those skill points in different areas. So here's a quick look at the build that I'm running. I went in for a full stamina and smash build, so there's no points in my other trees as they're just completely unnecessary in order to give me better power output during this fight. Now, I was about level 25 when I did this fight, so I had about 25 different skill points to spend, so I suggest being somewhere around there, as this was one of the more difficult fights, or if not the most challenging fight that I've been through so far in the game. So let me give you guys a step-by-step tutorial about how you can dodge the different attacks and how I suggest actually taking this boss down. Now, for this boss, it's actually quite a long fight, and you really have to focus more on dodging the attacks and timing your abilities. Now, I suggest using your abilities as early on the fight as you can to try and get them back towards the end of the fight. Now, also, another thing is that the second half of the fight, the boss does seem to get a bit more aggressive, and then there's also a few different attacks you definitely need to learn how to dodge. Other than that, though, you'll be pretty set to get this boss done. Now, the main thing on this boss is just getting the timing down on the dodges and not being too greedy for damage output. That's going to get you screwed up the most. Now, when you first get in the fight, you're going to want to just pop your transformation ability. Go ahead and use the heavy attack as many times as you can to get the fight started. Now, you'll be able to use this ability later on, so that's why you want to use all of these as early as you can. Now, from there, I use this invisibility perk, which is going to create a decoy. From there, if you time that attack right, it'll actually stagger the boss, and you can actually stagger the boss a few different ways during this fight. Now you're going to notice that he goes into these damage phases where he throws these tornadoes. After the tornadoes, he's going to do 3 slashes with his sword, so you have to be ready to dodge both the tornado and that attack. Now I also chose to run this spirit, which does venom damage from AoE. Now you don't need this to do the fight, but it definitely helps a little bit. It's going to give you like 10% of his health bar automatically. Now you can pop this before the fight even starts, or you can choose to pop it towards the middle. Now the most important part, I think, in this fight is learning how to dodge one of his very specific attacks. You'll notice that he sort of goes up and does a whisper emoji. Anytime he does this emoji, or he does this little hand gesture, you immediately want to start dodging. Now you'll see here I took damage from this attack, this hit. You see it does about 60% of my health bar. It's his most devastating attack, and he's going to do it 4 or 5 times throughout the fight. I'll tell you guys exactly when those attacks do come around later on in the fight, but that's definitely something you want to be on the lookout for. Anytime he does that hand gesture, he is going to do that attack. It does about 60 to 70% of your health bar, and so it can be dodged, but you do need to be on the lookout for it. There is also another type of attack that he does where he lunges at you. These attacks usually come in sets of 3s, so you want to make sure to dodge all of the attacks in a row. Once you're done dodging, or if you get a perfect dodge in, his combo will end and you can actually get a few swings in. But if you do not dodge it perfectly, his combo will continue on, and you want to wait until it's completely finished. Now, if you get greedy with damage during these phases and you try and attack before his combo is over, you will begin to get hits, and it will be getting to bit quite difficult to attack. Now, another benefit to dodging the attacks and being patient is that you're going to recharge your abilities. You're going to be able to stun him up more often, and you want to just go back to dodging as many of his attacks as you can at that point. Now, you see when his combos are over, that's when I start to go and get damage in, but as soon as I know he's starting to charge up or go in for another attack, I stop being greedy for damage and I'll immediately back up. Now, at this point, once you're far away from him, if you need to heal up, this is when I would do it, but you need to be on the lookout for when he does begin to attack again, as he will try to charge in at you. Now, during these parts of the fight, you just want to dodge as many attacks as you can, use these abilities as much as you can, but at this point, he will begin to go into this rock mode. Once this happens, he'll actually go into a bit of a trance and come out of his body. He's going to do this lunge attack at you again, the same as before, but this time it's actually even more powerful, and you need to time the dodge on it a bit better because he comes out of a random area in the map. He will be invisible. Now, if you keep an eye on his body when he goes rock solid, you can kind of see which direction the boss will go from. Unfortunately, though, when he goes into this state, you will no longer be locked onto the boss, and so it does become a bit difficult to dodge the attack. Now, the attack can be dodged. However, as soon as he's done with this, he's going to follow it up with another combo attack, so you need to continue dodging. Don't try to immediately jump in and do damage. You'll notice here, I was getting a little greedy for damage, and he ended up hitting me with 3 or 4 combos back to back. I ended up using a bit more health than I wanted here. Now, this attack very easily could have been dodged, and I could have avoided all of this damage output had I just been prepared for it. Now, another thing about this fight is that you're going to run really low on mana, And so there's times where you may have your abilities to be able to stun the boss, but you will not have enough mana to use them. Another thing with this boss is you want to try and keep him away from the walls. Anytime that you get close to the walls, try and do your best to bring the boss back to the center of the map or as far away from any of the walls as you can. Also, make sure not to get cornered as well. And if you find yourself in a corner, just be sure to try to work your way back to the middle. Now, what you can do to force the boss back into the middle of the map is actually anytime you dodge, just place your analog stick in the direction you want the boss to go. And so if you're pinned up against a wall, make sure when you roll, you're rolling towards the middle of the map. And that's actually the best way and really the only way you can do this. Now, again, he's going to go into these rock solid modes. You want to do your best to just dodge these blink attacks. The second time he goes into this rock solid mode and does this blink attack, he's actually going to follow up the blink attack with a sword slash as well. So right after he comes out, you'll notice he does the whisper emoji I was telling you about earlier. He's going to come in with this attack guaranteed every single time that he goes into that rock solid mode. Now, every time he does it after the first phase, he's going to come in with that sword attack after as well. Now, be sure to just continue dodging as many sword attacks as you can, as many of his attacks. The better your timing gets, the more you're going to get those perfect parries off. And every time you get off that perfect parry, it actually does sort of interrupt his combo. Now, this isn't the only way to beat him, but if the best way to beat him is definitely by trying to get the perfect combos. So you're going to be able to get through the boss fight the easiest using that. It's going to take a lot longer if you don't, because his combos are pretty ruthless and you're only going to be able to get 2 or 3 attacks in at a time. Another thing I can say is to try to build up your combo when attacking. Anytime you go in with your heavy swing, you're actually going to be able to stagger the boss up, and that will allow you to get more damage output as well in between his attacks. Now, that's pretty much it. Just be patient with this boss. Other bosses, you can kind of just rush through it and do as many attacks as you can. With this one, you really only want to do one combo at a time and focus really more on dodging and your spells more than anything with this fight. Now, hopefully this does help you guys to get through it. I'll make a few more guides as I progress through the game with the more challenging bosses, so stay tuned if you need help, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.
就铁骑士学武力，大手铁炮造虎旗，枪刀剑剑慌不比，时候死你不死你。
This body of yours is perfect for the art of rock solid.